What is a true story from your life that sounds made up? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. When I was young, 8 to 9 years old, I loved to climb a very tall pine tree on the mountainside near my backyard. I climbed this tree almost every day because the view from the top was incredible. One day I was climbing so I could get a good view of the sunset. When I was almost halfway up the tree, I heard a sound next to me and loomed over to see a mountain lion just chilling on one of the branches directly across from me, staring at me. My heart probably stopped beating for a minute, LOL. I just slowly climbed back down the tree and had a very paranoid walk back home. Story 2. My stepdad drove me into the woods with an axe, chainsaw, and black bags in the trunk, and said if I went to live with my dad, he would kill me, and that my bio mom had given him permission and I had 2 weeks to change my mind. My dad, probably under advice from his lawyer, didn't do more than ask me to tell one of my teachers to please call him if I didn't show up one day and why. So I did, and my teacher was a mandated reporter, which opened up a CPS case. The kicker is that my stepdad took me to McDonald's after, and then to school, all of which I told CPS. Apparently my stepdad claimed I was lying. The lawyer was able to obtain video footage from McDonald's and basically say, why would she lie about this, but not that? Dad got custody and I spent 6 months unable to sleep thinking I was going to get. Story 3. I work in a job where there is a lot of pressure to make connections and bring in money. Got an email from a random small company just before I went on holiday, asking for a Zoom call in the next few days. Decided that for once I was going to draw a line in the sand and told them I wouldn't be available several weeks. Went on holiday somewhere 500 miles away and did some sightseeing. A few days in, I ended up at a bus stop in a quiet rural area, waiting for the bus back to my hotel. It is only one bus an hour, and there is a while to go. But it is a nice day and I was enjoying being switched off from work, so I didn't mind just standing there. I look behind me and notice a building, which is in fact the exact company who had asked to speak to me. So after telling them I wasn't available to speak to them online, I completely randomly ended up standing outside their building 500 miles away on the same day they wanted to talk to me, with some time to waste. Story 4. I was on a boat in Colombia going from the beach in Cartagena to Tierra Bomba. The motor died and we were drifting. Crap got pretty real. The swells were not enough to tip us, but with us being powerless, the boat was turned sideways and we were susceptible to the roll. We ended up eventually drifting fairly close to the island, and there were very long piers. I saw that we might get close enough to leap onto it, so I gathered a rope up at the bow of the boat. The guy at the motor tried to tell me not to, but he was the guy who didn't have any plan for the motor dying. I timed a swell as well as I could and jumped as powerfully as I could. At the time I was young and very athletic. I barely made it, but I landed on the dock. I pulled the boat in and the rest of the people were relieved and very, very grateful. They actually cheered. I felt like a badass and was on a high for the rest of the day. Story 5. I dropped out of high school at 15. I bounced around in call center jobs with no plan and no prospects. One day I met a girl there and we became friends. She was an aspiring author. She said I seemed smart and asked me to help her figure out how to become an author, and she'd make me her manager and share the book royalties with me. I found office jobs crushing and really bad for my mental health. I was so at some points, but the only thing that kept me going was helping my friend accomplish her dream. Fast forward 10 years, we're best friends. I helped her become a best-selling author. We've sold millions of books. We live up the road from each other. We're both happily married, and I don't have to do any work other than help her with her books. I work under 10 hours a week. I won the lottery, basically. That's how it feels. Story 6. Lucked out in a job interview. Got to the interview 15 minutes early and asked to wait in the hiring manager's office. On his table, there were a number of pamphlets. I got bored and read one of them. The H&M was a little later than expected, so I had about half an hour before the interview started. He asked, "What is it you think we do here?" And I recited the pamphlet. He goes, "That's a pretty good answer." I received an offer the next morning. 6 months in and I'm doing well. He finds the pamphlet. He asked me during my 1-year review if I read the pamphlet, and I laughed, confessed, and then he gave me a glowing review and a raise. Story 7. Way back, just after high school, my dad got a girl pregnant. They split, and she was already with someone else and planning to marry him when she discovered she was pregnant. My dad wasn't in a good place, signed rights away, new dude adopts the baby. 18 years later, my parents are divorced and remarried, and I have a stepbrother who just so happens to be best friends with my half-brother. In fear that he'd be brought around my sister and him looking exactly like my dad, they had to sit down and tell everyone, including my half-brother who didn't know his dad wasn't actually his dad. Not as crazy as some of the stories here, but still crazy to me. Also crazy, my mom and I share a birthday. Half-brothers twins also just happen to have the same birthday as well. Story 8. Doctor here. In the preclinical years of medical school, most medical schools have students enroll in anatomy lab where we dissect cadavers as part of the course. One of the anatomy labs had a cadaver who had passed away from complications from kidney failure, according to the identification tab. While that anatomy team was dissecting some of the leg and buttock muscles, they found a bullet in the gluteus medius. No idea how it got there and totally unrelated to the cause of death. I like to imagine the guy signing paperwork to donate his body to science, thinking that the med students dissecting his butt would get a funny surprise. Story 9. On a ferry from Wales to Dublin in 1994, I fell asleep on a bench in a quiet private lounge where I thought I was alone. As the ferry got underway, someone came in to turn on the TV in the lounge. I heard a voice say, "Can't you see this gentleman's asleep?" The ferry worker explained that the TVs are supposed to be on while the ferry's in motion. The man said, "We're the only ones here. You can keep it off." I opened one eye to see who it was that was looking out for me, and it was Sean Connery and his wife. I woke up to thank him for letting me catch some shoot-eye. I had spent the day cycling from York, England, and needed the rest. Turns out, he was traveling to Dublin to be the Grand Marshal in the St. Paddy's Day Parade. Story 10. I go to anime conventions. In 2007, I was at a convention in Austin, Texas. At the time, there were some cosplayers that would come in and wear the same outfit all weekend. By Saturday afternoon when this happened, they would smell pretty bad. Well, this one guy decided he wanted to end this once and for all. Dressed in camo, he came in sporting 2 cans of El Cheapo local brand air freshener. He then started spraying cosplayers and shouting, "Take a shower." The first 2 were just shocked by it. Some panicked and ran. I froze in place. The third one he hit was a young woman who ducked right before he sprayed her, and he got it right on her face and in her eyes. She let out a very loud, blood-curdling scream. That's when security got to him and hauled him off. Worst part about it was this. About 2 years later, I was on a website and someone else was talking about it. They declared that this was an urban legend and there was no way this could have happened. Story 11. I once had chronic muscle twitching and went to go see a neuroscientist about it to make sure my brain is all good. He told me to never get vaccinated, avoid all gluten, unplug my TV at night, 5 grams towers and the government are trying to control me, and that he had his brain zapped by secret military police in Virginia in 1972, and he knows more than anyone, and I'm too ignorant to understand the vast esoteric knowledge he has bestowed upon me. And super intelligent beings are watching the human race at all times from space. I recorded our entire conversation without him knowing with my phone in my shirt pocket because I needed proof of what I was listening to this actual PhD licensed medical professional tell me to ensure I wasn't going crazy. I'm like, "Sir, I have muscle twitches," and he straight up hit me with, "Okay, cool, but," and then starts this ramble. Part of me still likes to entertain the idea that he actually is a genius and that all that knowledge is beyond my understanding, but man, he really came off as a lunatic. Story 12. My mom put crazy glue in her eye thinking it was eye drops. My mom is fine. My sister bought a cat before she moved out, and my mom is a bit allergic to cats. So the cat was staying with us temporarily while my sister got settled in. My mom woke up one night with itchy, watery eyes because I guess the cat rubbed on her face, and my mom has acrylics, so not only does she keep eye drops in her bag for allergies, she always keep a small bottle of crazy glue in there to fix her nails when they break. So she tiredly reached in her bag, thought she grabbed the eye drops, and put some in her eye. She felt burning and couldn't open her eye and realized what happened, so we went to the hospital in an ambulance because I was too young to drive, and she had to wear an eye patch for a bit and just wait pretty much till her eye opened with the medication she had to take. Crazy story. She's not blind in one eye though, so that's great. Story 13. When I was 8 years old, I ran through a plate glass door at our local swimming pool. This was in ancient times before tempered glass. The pool was indoor, surrounded by glass doors. I actually managed to run through both sides as the door was opened. Anyway, the results were pretty horrific as I managed to concuss myself while the glass fell on me. 500 plus stitches, 6 months in a leg cast. My face cut to the bone, lost ligaments, and cut my femoral artery. Blood was literally everywhere. After 12 months of rehab, I returned to say hi to my friends. As I was getting out of the car, another kid ran through the same door I did. He didn't make it. The pool was closed for an extended period as they walled up all the glass doors. As an old man, I have never really gotten over this incident. Story 14. I lived in the Congo for a year, and me and some buddies hitched out to the coast for a few days, then hitched back to Kinshasa. On the hitchback, we got a ride with a UN Jeep, you know, one of those all-open, no-top jobs. We were cruising 30 miles per hour on a dirt gravel road cut into a fairly steep hill. Off in the distant valley was a herd of wild buffalo, and the bull starting pawing the ground, F-rom, like or more yards away, . Sure enough, he charges and comes barreling up the hill. We pointed at him and laughed at it. There was no way he could intercept us. And he got closer and closer, and then bam! He had triangulated the angle perfectly. He hit us in the back panel and spun us around several times, and we side crashed into the hillside facing the wrong way. But we didn't flip, thank God, because of the hillside. Nobody injured. As the dust was settling, we each looked at each other slack-jawed and in wild disbelief. The bull, who was now 50+ yards away from us, just shook his head. Had to hurt him as he hit square on the rear driver's side wheel. Then he trotted back down the hill to protect his harem. The driver produced a crowbar and bent the wheel well back as it was stuck on the tire. We went on our way. Story 15. I won tickets to a Toby Keith concert. Before he was super big, the concert was in a small field. That's not the crazy part though. The way I won the tickets is far more interesting. There was a contest on the radio if you called in and could tell them about your crazy but true plans for the weekend. The best story would win tickets. It just so happened that I was going to my grandmother's surprise wedding that weekend. It was a 100% true story. My grandmother was engaged and they were going to get married at some point when they could get everyone together. It was a second marriage for each of them, and they were both in their mid-late 60s. So Glenn planned a surprise wedding for them. It was cute and fun. Bonus fact, I took my fiance's now wife's sister to the concert since she couldn't get the day off. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below.